Motivation. What keeps people motivated to work, learn, and grow? What keeps the world moving? How can I gain motivation if I don't feel motivated? Today we're going to explore the realm of motivation by diving deep into what drives those who work in the vast world of construction and home repair. Welcome to the Exploring Life podcast,
where we discuss important topics in a fun and engaging way. I'm your host, Matthew Borgelthos. Welcome to episode 1. First, we should cover what motivation means. Motivation is defined by the Oxford Language Dictionary as the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving a particular way. Motivation, in short, is our reason for doing things. Motivation can help us finish tasks and embark on longer, more difficult tasks. Motivation can also come in different forms. Some examples of motivation come in the form of intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation, and incentive motivation. While there are many more types, today we'll mainly talk about these 3 types and how they pertain to the construction industry. Intrinsic motivation, or the motivation of doing something for its satisfaction rather than from a consequence, is one of the best types of motivation in construction. It's like painting a new color on walls, or even spreading out mortar and placing tiles that fit just right.
Nice.
These tasks are still work, but it's easier to see the progress, making it more motivating. These are the types of things that most companies like Home Depot, Ace Hardware, and Lowe's typically advertise. Many guys experience this type of motivation after a fresh-cut lawn in the springtime. This is the motivation to do things better and be in a state of being that, as one famous quote puts,
I can do this all day.
It can be easy to tell if you are in this state of motivation when you're thinking to yourself, how can I make this as good as I can? Or what can I do to make this better? A lot of job satisfaction in construction/home repair comes from seeing this type of work be done. Another type of motivation is extrinsic motivation. This type of motivation is driven by external rewards. In construction, this could be getting paid to do something difficult, unpleasant, and/or time-consuming. Some of the things in this industry could be carpet removal, replacing an old toilet, or cleaning out some junk from an old house. On those days, you aren't typically working because you like the job. However, you may still do as good of a job as you can, just because the work requires it. This type of motivation can sometimes be a weak motivation factor, so it may be helpful to try and combine it with other types as well. A good idea to have a motivating factor here could be that you're providing a service to another person. Doing an extrinsically motivating thing sometimes is not enjoyable, but it needs to be done to reach an end goal, such as a finished house or a much cleaner house. In this case, discipline is a tool that you can use to create motivation to accomplish a task. You might be wondering why earlier in the podcast I mentioned motivation can help you start longer tasks. Well, at some point your motivation may run out and you may not feel like doing something, but it may still need to be done. Discipline helps to give you the ability to keep going. Discipline is the finisher. Discipline is in for the long haul. It goes hand in hand with extrinsic motivation, but can also go along with others. It can be a tool used to create extra motivation. Discipline may fail too. It is, however, one of the most reliable tools you have in your arsenal. To succeed, you should combine the tools at your disposal. Finding motivation can help you push through some relatively hard stuff. But also, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, at least some of the time, and or find a deeper purpose, you may not continue doing or enjoying the work you do. Discipline may be useful in some cases here. If you have spent time in diverse groups of people, you may find that the people you work with and their attitudes can affect you If you spend more time with optimistic people, you start to gain an optimistic perspective. Studies have found that we become like the 5 people we spend the most time with. This can be many things: spending time with God, inspirational stories, talking to friends and coworkers, watching movies, listening to podcasts, etc. If you still have difficulty finding motivation to do something, you may need a break from your current task to recharge. This could be to step away from your current task for a minute, like going to the gym, or going on a walk or drive or something. One method that Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist and a professor of neurobiology and ophthalmology at Stanford University School of Medicine, suggested.
However, if you were to take that state of being unmotivated, procrastinating, and actually do something that's harder than being in that amotivated state, in other words, doing something that's more effortful, even painful, you can rebound yourself out of that dopamine trough much more quickly. So what do I mean you want to put yourself in a state that's worse than or harder than the state that you're in, or do something quote unquote more painful? And here I want to be very clear. I'll say this 3 times, but I'm going to say it for the first time now. When I say more painful, I do not mean doing any kind of tissue damaging or psychologically damaging behavior or anything of that sort that's going to render you injured or not well, even in the short term. That's not what I'm referring to, okay? Let's just get that one out of the way. What I'm referring to is the fact that, for instance, if you're feeling amotivated, but you find yourself cleaning the house as a way to procrastinate, you could say, well, cleaning the house is harder than sitting down and doing nothing. But actually, in that moment or in those moments, that's not the case, or else you wouldn't be doing it. The reality is that the dopamine system works according to what feels hard or easy in the moment. In other words, if you're feeling amotivated, you need to do something and put yourself into a state that's harder than the state you're in. So for instance, if you're sitting around feeling amotivated, or you find yourself tending to tasks that are irrelevant to the goal that you really should be focused on, you need to put your body and mind into a state of discomfort quickly. And the way to do that is to either engage in some tangential activity, meaning an activity not related to your goal that puts your body into a very different state. So here again, I'll default to the obvious one, which is something like cold shower, cold immersion, which not only increases dopamine long-term, or over several hours rather, but for most people is experienced as pain. That pain causes a rebound out of that dopamine trough faster than it would occur if you had just stayed in that amotivated state and waited for it to go away, or done something like cleaning up that for whatever reason felt like it required less friction.
In my life, I have gotten the chance to see when a company does motivation well. Earlier this year, I got to take an interesting and unique trip to me. I traveled from my hometown, Pocatello, Idaho, to the main division of my aunt and uncle's erosion control company in Nampa, Idaho, with my cousin for a week. While I was there, I took note of the work culture. I discovered from talking to my cousin that the work they do has a purpose: to protect waterways from getting contaminants such as soil, liquid concrete, and other hazardous chemicals. My uncle has told countless stories about how their work helped protect hiking trails, fishing spots, drinking water, and a lot of other infrastructure around water, such as dams. They had programs where the company would pay for people to learn skills or earn certificates, allowing for personal growth, therefore giving incentive motivation to employees to grow their skills and help grow the company. There are many more examples that I could give, but in short, the company had very many examples of motivation everywhere: intrinsic, extrinsic, and incentive. It showed me what a good company really does to help their employees. And while their company is not perfect, I was awestruck at some of the great stuff they did. I hope that this inspires and shows people everywhere that it is possible to make great companies. It just takes a bit of effort. I also hope that you learned something today that will help you get motivated. If not, try a motivational speech. Who knows, it might help. Thank you for listening to the Exploring Life podcast.
And have a great day
afternoon, or night.